wildly captivating game, of course. Niners missed that field goal at the end. Let's start with the fact that I don't, people want to crush Brock Purdy right now. If your favorite quarterback, pick, if quarterback blank, right? Quarterback, top 10 quarterback blank, fill in the blank with whoever your favorite top 10 quarterback is, or, top 15, we can debate who's actually top 10, right? Take your Justin Herbert, your Trevor Lawrence, your Mahomes. Even if they had a bad game, let's take Mahomes at New York, for example, right? At the Jets, right? Rough game. What is that? Two picks. I think he has a fumble, but he recovers it. He looks kind of out of sorts, not quite as efficient, but then gets the ball back, 7 minutes to go, need a drive to milk the clock. Next thing you know, he's sliding at the goal line, right? And we completely forget that Mahomes had a bad game. Yes, Brock Purdy had a bad game, but if you're box score watching, that's your only takeaway from the game. Oh, well, what'd I tell you? Brock Purdy, when he doesn't have Christian McCaffrey turning those 3-yard runs into 40-yard runs, when Debo is not able to run the ball and catch the ball and block it, he's just not the same. That's exactly what you would say if you only looked at the box score. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Brock Purdy played well. I'm not like, oh, hey, Brock, that's a top 10 performance right there on the road. No, Brock didn't play well. He knows that. Everybody knows that. But what did he do when he absolutely had to have it? Everybody in the world knows he's throwing. Myles Garrett's on the other side, which I think he's overrated, but let's not lie and say he's not a top 5 pass rusher. He's still really good. They get a pass rush with Zadarius Smith as well. Good corners on the back end. Young, fast linebackers. Everybody in the world knows he has to throw. It's raining, wet, sloppy, windy, on the road. Crowd's on you. What is it, like 2 minutes to go? Something like that? Under 2 minutes? Or maybe a little over 2 minutes. Yeah, they still did 2-minute warning. So a little bit over 2 minutes. Drives down the field. Puts him in a spot. I think it was like a 43-yard field goal. If pick your quarterback, if Dak did that, if Kirk did that, if Herbert did that, if Justin Fields did that, you're like, oh my God, that's the kicker's fault. He put him in a position to win the game. What did Brock Purdy do when he absolutely had to have it? He drives him down there. Again, I'm not saying Brock Purdy's great, but when you had to have it, game on the line, to go out there and have that sort of drive, with no Debo Samuel, with no Christian McCaffrey, with George Kittle having 1 catch for 1 yard, and it wasn't even on that drive, with a ragtag offensive line as well that was getting beat consistently by the Browns. He drives down there, I think, 40-something yards, sets him up for a 43-yard field goal. Rookie kicker pushes it. It's rainy, it's wet, you're on the road. He pushes it in the wind. It is what it is. That's one of the best losses. If that's the way the Niners are going to lose, I think they'll take that any day of the week. So that's my takeaway from the Niners side. Brock Purdy's fine. He's fine. Don't overreact. He didn't have his 2 best players. Yes, he didn't play well, but when he absolutely had to have it, that's always been the question. It's not, hey, can Brock on a bright sunny Sunday with everybody there play well? But yeah, we've seen it 12 times now? The question was, hey, when he's backed into a corner, can Brock on the road in inclement weather do something for his team? Can he be the catalyst, not just there? Can he be the catalyst, not just the distributor? Yes, he was on Sunday. Kicker missed it. Is what it is. Is what it is. Let's transition to the Browns. I'm not going to say it's a bad win, because any win in this league is a good win, especially when you beat one of the consensus best teams in football. I would say probably the best team in football. I still believe it after the loss, but and to do it with P.J. Walker. And let's focus on that for a second, because I wasn't a Baker fan. If Baker was going to ask for $60 million or even $40 million, I would have let him walk as well. But with that roster, for you to be paying Deshaun Watson all that guaranteed money, Sunday was one of those bittersweet moments where it's hey, we won the game, but we did it with a dude off the couch making like $40, and we still have this guy who is medically cleared to play and is not playing, and we have $200-something million guaranteed in him for the next 4 years, or maybe 5. Like, that is a tough spot to be. And I'm not saying Baker looked good, but over the course of the year, he's looked pretty good. And what P.J. Walker just showed you is that with an average quarterback, with somebody that just doesn't lose you the game, P.J. Walker tried, let me tell you. With just an average quarterback, that roster and that defense and that coaching staff can win a lot of games in this league. Yet instead you have all this money tied up into a guy who first of all, is not playing. And when he has been playing, hasn't looked very good. Took 2 years off of football. That's hard to come back from. And so, if you're the Browns, the question becomes, what do you do? Because if you want to sit here and try to wait it out for Deshaun Watson, be my guest. I'm a Pittsburgh fan. I hope you keep waiting it out because he plays bad against us. I'm fine with that. Keep waiting it out. But in reality, is this a sustainable method to win? Because whenever this contract really starts to kick in next year, it gets even more punitive against the cap. Remember, the first year was mostly signing bonus, less against the cap. What happens when it really, really kicks in next year, the year after that, the year after that? And you can't pay that second edge rusher. And you only have one good corner. And you don't get to keep both linebackers. And you can't have two good tight ends and two good backs when Nick Chubb comes back. Right? Like, there's a ceiling on this team. And I think this team, much like the Baker team, is built to win with a cheap quarterback. And we saw that Sunday. But the problem is you don't have a cheap quarterback, and there's no way to get out of it with all that guaranteed money unless you just swallow a massive, massive dead cap hit. So I'm not saying it's a bad win. It's a good win in terms of this season. But bigger picture, macro level, what do you do if you're the Browns? All this guaranteed money tied up in a guy who's not playing, and when he does play, he doesn't play well, and you see a third-string, fourth-string guy go out and beat the best team in football, what do you do? I don't have the answer. I would say try to move off him, but I'm not a capologist. I'm not a G. I don't know how you do that effectively, minimizing the burden of that dead cap hit. But that's kind of my take on that game. Wildly entertaining game. We, of course, called the upset. We got a terrible number, actually, at 4.5, because that was before Deshaun was known to be out. I think we got it at 5, maybe. Ballooned all the way up to like 8.5, but we still hit, obviously, because they won outright. So it was a good game for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was surprised watching that game. I knew the defense in Cleveland was going to be great. I didn't expect them to
be the best defense in 77?
Yes.
That's wild.
To phase the 49ers the way they did, especially when, San Francisco has the power and all the weapons on offense that they do. It was shocking to me to see that. And then on the flip side, I did not expect a backup quarterback in Cleveland to be able to carry the load at least enough to win.
Yeah, I mean,
because then you
pass
flip
rating
it,
of like 44, but it was still good enough.
You flip it, and San Francisco's a pretty damn good defense too. On the other side, that's probably the second best defense in the league. So it was impressive either way. It was fun to watch. Crazy game, like you said. I think you even predicted the weather in Cleveland that day. You said it's gonna be rainy, it's gonna be crappy. It's the mistake on the lake in Cleveland.
It is the mistake on the lake, of course.
So, we were right there. We were right on our game prediction for it as well. So let's continue with this trend of being right into hits and misses.
It's a good day. Yeah, I like it. All right.